Good morning, Kiki here. Happy Monday. So today I wanted to have this conversation, and it's really been on my mind for a while because I keep on meeting people who all have these degrees that they do not use. And I happen to be one of those people, and I have 2 degrees that I don't use them, but I definitely use the knowledge that I gained in my schooling experience. And that is because I did not go to school to get a job. I went to school to learn something about myself and, of course, to open myself up to ideas that I never thought were possible. And so when I went to school, I went to be an artist, and that was about learning how to create and being comfortable creating and having that structured environment to learn about that. So that's what I used it for. And art is a great way to learn about anything you want to learn about. So, if you're focused on, I use my love for art to learn about religion, to learn about feminism, womanism, gender theories. I use my love of art to learn about spirituality. So I did all that in school, but I want to talk about what I didn't learn. And this is really important to me because when I look at people now and how they interact with each other, when I look at the life that people made for themselves and also the level of ignorance that they're able to live in, it's kind of astounds me because I feel like, well, why is it that you don't learn that in college? Why don't you learn these simple things in college? And I feel this way about education in general. I feel, even with children, I feel like when you graduate from high school, you should be able to set a bone. I feel that way. I feel like everyone should be able to set a bone, and you should be able to know basic things about how to raise a garden, how to grow your own food, and even how to do basic medical procedures. I feel that way. That's my personal feeling. Maybe you won't know how to do brain surgery, but you'll know how to do some basic things. And I have a different concept, clearly, of education. But one of the things that really kind of amazed me is that I went to Spelman College, which is a very well-known HBCU. But I did not learn some very important things at Spelman College that I felt now, as I kind of have grown, I'm like, why didn't I learn that there? Why wasn't there a class for this? So I'll tell you all the things that I didn't learn that I feel I should have learned. And I'm talking about it because homecoming's coming up, and so I start to think about the place a lot, and I always have these mixed feelings about it. One is I absolutely love my experience there. But then 2, it's like, gosh, it could be greater. And I always wonder, how can you make it greater? So I'm like, why don't I use my little platform here and my few little subscribers and talk about it. So these are the things that I didn't learn. One thing I didn't learn anything about energy or energy healing, and that we all have energy in our bodies. Now, this has been scientifically proven. It's been explored at other universities, so it's not to say that this is something that cannot be done in a university. I'm reading a book right now about a scientist that did it in UCLA and had plenty of studies. So I'm wondering, why in the world was that never even presented as a possibility? The other thing that we didn't learn was the relationship of feminine and masculine energy and how they come together. How is it that you're at a women's college and then you have a men's college right across the street, and you're not learning how these energies work together, and then that push and pull and all the aspects of what feminine energy is and what masculine energy is? Like, why wasn't that a class? Because we had a class called ADW, and that's African Diaspora in the World, which dealt with some feminine things. Some of the first stuff we learned about was feminism versus womanism. But what we didn't talk about was, how do we actually have healthy relationships? Why wasn't there a healthy relationships class? Why wouldn't that be there in your foundations, right? Because you're supposed to be going out there in the world, right? Apparently getting a job, because that's what a lot of people go to college for, to get a job, and you're not going to learn how to have healthy relationships with the people around you? Because you're at a women's college, but you're going to go to be in a world that's with men and women, right? Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing that I didn't learn about all of the brown, black, or melanated people all over the world. Meaning, of course, we had a class called African Diaspora in the World, but somehow Melanesia and all that area and that Pacific area was all cut out. Or even that history of the first emperor in China, or even just spreading it all around the world. Somehow that was never covered. How wasn't that covered? What we did not learn is history of. We didn't even talk about the Moors. How do you miss the Moors when the Moors are integral and foundational to this particular land, which we call America? So we didn't actually go over any history, to me, that would be in the Americas before slavery. Now that blows my mind as well, because if we did learn those things, a lot of things would be different. Because if you knew that there were black people in the Americas way before slavery, you start to ask different questions, don't you? You start to wonder, okay, well, if we were already here, and that's something that if you don't know what I'm talking about, research it. It's there. The information is out there. I'll give you a gigantic hint. Look up Chief Tuscaloosa. Just look him up. That's a way. Or I'll give you another hint. Look up the drawings. You have to find the drawings of Pocahontas's tribe before when they first came. There are some drawings. If you look at those drawings, you will think you are looking at drawings of African people, because you kind of are. So do the research. It's all out there. Remember, photography didn't come in until the 1800s, but people were on this land, exploring this land earlier than the 1400s. So do the math and figure out how much wasn't documented and how much could have changed over those 300 years. So these are the things that I didn't learn at HBCU, and now, kind of growing, it shocks me that I didn't learn it. But this is what I did learn. And I think that's the most important part, that I learned that you never stop learning. And so there's no way I would know all the stuff that I do know if I didn't have that foundation there. And that was the foundation that I got there, that you have to find the information, and that a lot of times no one's going to hand it to you. That if you really, really, really want to know the stuff that's not in the curriculum, it's not going to be handed to you. And that's the other thing. That's something that I did learn, because being an art major, I learned more about I learned about the Dogon. I learned about urban religions. That's how I learned about Oceania and what happens in that Pacific area, and Melanesia and Papua New Guinea and New Caledonia and all those different places. I learned about that because I'm an art major, and through art I actually started to learn about the people of the world. And I'm sharing this with people, and it might seem off topic of my channel, but it isn't, because my channel is just my name, so therefore I can talk about whatever the hell I want. I'm sharing this because I really want people to be more aggressive in learning things and not feeling like you just stop at a certain place. And so I call out my school for a reason, because just because I didn't learn all those things there, it doesn't mean that my experience there didn't stimulate or even, support my hunger for knowledge. But this is one more thing I didn't learn. I took a world religion class, and how is it you're at an HBCU, a world religion class, and we never touched upon urban religions? We never touched upon urban religions. That trips me out even now to this day. I didn't learn about urban religions until I went to UT, and I took a course. It was an art history course. And I'm trying to figure out what that art history course was called. It might have just been, I forget what it was called, but he broke down hoodoo and voodoo, just broke the whole thing down. Blew my freaking mind. I'm like, I can't believe I'm learning this here. So, almost felt like it was contraband, but I didn't learn that at a HBCU. And that's all right, because because you have to, okay, well, who started those schools? You know, black people didn't start those schools. You know, the Rockefellers start those schools, and, you know, two very beautiful or very nice white women start those schools. So it wasn't ever really built on curriculum for us, if you want to be honest. You know, I didn't know Egypt was called Kemet, you know, until way afterwards. I mean, that wasn't there, that information. I didn't learn that there either. So this is a long video, but it's just something that I've been wanting to put out there because I've been meeting more and more people who are doing things that aren't really aligned but to their major, but somehow they're growing even more, and they're doing things beyond their degree. And it's so important because I happen to be I guess what you call an educated person, but I had to go way beyond my schooling to actually be where I am now and be able to be comfortable and confident to do this kind of healing work. So, alrighty, McTidy, I just wanted to share that, and I hope you enjoy the video. Peace out. KikiSienza.com. Check me out. And really, like, check out the blog. Some really cool stuff is happening. I think tomorrow I'm going to post another excerpt, or no, another kind of conversation I have with one of my clients about her experience with me. So that's going to be great. Okay, bye-bye.